Welcome to Day 6 of JLTV's exclusive coverage of the 19th Maccabiah Games, direct from the State of Israel. My name's Mitch Gaylord, coming to you from the JLTV Maccabiah headquarters. On today's show, we take you to the soccer field to meet a master athlete. While Justin Greenberg may be playing for the American team, he and his family have deep roots in the State of Israel and are connected to one of the most enduring historical events in Israel's history. We'll hear Justin's story soon. Then, we meet an Australian couple that came together thanks to the Maccabiah Games. Really. And the family affair continues as we meet two young American athletes who have taken the world of fencing by storm. Medal contenders, no doubt. American teens Jen and Charlie Horowitz are ready to lunge right onto the podium. And so much more. Are you ready? Well, you better be. It's JLTV's exclusive coverage of the 19th Maccabiah Games. Welcome to Jerusalem. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are here at Beit Vagan, which is one of the soccer fields in the nation's capital. This is my buddy Justin Greenberg. I actually know him because my daughter was in his program, Soccer USA, both my daughters, but now he is about to play the Australians. Before we talk about the game of soccer, I want to talk about Justin. Justin, you grew up in Israel.
That's true.
Tell us about it.
Early childhood, I was here from the time I was a year and a half till the time I was 9, and had an incredible upbringing. In fact, I grew up not too far away from here, and before all these buildings that you see in the background were developed, and I would, as a kid, I would sneak into this park. So this is something of a homecoming for me.
Literally, this park.
This park.
Now, your family has a really unique connection to Israel's history.
Yes.
A sad but ultimately triumphant one, and that being one of the earliest hijackings of a plane dealing with an Israeli passenger load. Your father was on that plane.
That's right.
It's known as the Sabena flight from 1972. Tell us about that.
I mean, my childhood memories, it's the memory of a 6-year-old. My parents came back, were on a trip to Brussels, and they took 2 separate flights due to the climate. And sure enough, my dad's plane was hijacked, and it was an incredible endeavor, and unfortunately there was loss of life. But the Israelis disguised as mechanics, they stormed the plane, and they took out 2 of the male terrorists.
Was your father not involved in kind of pushing one of the female terrorists down?
So yes, and thank you. He was seated in the back with one of the female terrorists who was holding a grenade, and as soon as the Israelis stormed the plane, he made an attempt to get at her, and I think he supported, and then later he became a witness for the state, and
also became a public figure.
Yes.
Which was kind of thrust upon him, and you as a child kind of lived those 15 minutes of fame. Tell us about that.
I got to meet Golda Meir.
Which is quite a big deal. I mean, really one of the icons of the 20th century. You came to the United States after that incident.
Not because of the incident,
right,
but 6 years later, in '78.
What was your language? How did you interact with American kids? You didn't speak English yet, so what was your way to interact?
Oh, you're leading me into a good place. Really, my language, which is the universal language, is soccer, and my one takeaway as a kid and my way of staying connected to Israel was playing this game. And sure enough, fast forward however many years, I'm leading my life teaching kids soccer. So I'm so proud that. Right,
Soccer Kids USA, a program that is in Los Angeles, Chicago, is that right?
Based in Los Angeles, likely to start up in Chicago at some point.
And you've been to Maccabiah Games before, or is this your first?
This is my first.
So how does it feel? It's somewhat of a homecoming. Talk to us about it. I mean, you got a pretty good team.
We've got a nice team, and it's interesting. Everyone has their own separate connection to Israel. We've got just a nice group of guys, and it's powerful to be here. This is it warms my heart. I'm so proud to be here. It's a good thing.
And did you bring any family with you?
I did. I brought my wife, Julie, and my 2.5-year-old daughter, Elsie. And that's been incredible. We have family here. And so, in fact, just yesterday, my daughter was spending time with cousins and nieces and some family that helped raise me. And to see that continuation is quite symbolic.
So you played your first game. I understand it was a tough, well-fought match. You went down 1-0 to whom again?
To Great Britain.
Great Britain, which is a solid team. You're about to play the Australians. How do you feel?
Feel good. We're going to get them.
Yeah, so what position do you play?
I play, my natural position is a midfielder.
Okay.
With this group, I'm playing right back and loving it. Just loving it.
So now I'm here with Jeff Cohn. He's from New Jersey, one of the team managers for Team USA Masters 45+. Do you know one of your players, Justin Greenberg? You know him?
Sure, I love Justin. Justin's great.
So tell us what you think about Justin's skill, his aptitude, what he brings to the team.
Justin is what we call a loose dude in a cool mood. He has this California surfer dude approach to it. He doesn't buckle under pressure. He's just one of these guys that you can rely on with the ball. He gets to everything, and nothing phases him. He makes a mistake, gets right back out there and play. You gotta love a guy like that.
I understand you have a pretty strong team. First game, fought hard. You went down just barely 1-0. How are you feeling you're about to take on the Australians?
I scouted the Aussies. They have a couple of good, solid players, but if we pressure their backs, I think we're going to take them down.
So, Jeff, I want to know how you're feeling. We're in the middle of Jerusalem, literally on this great soccer field. You're at the Maccabiah Games, the 19th Maccabiah Games. How is it for you?
It's great. I gave up my opportunity to play because we have an outstanding goalkeeper. It's just one of these things. I love coming to Israel. I love seeing the Jewish people from around the world get together. It gives you such an amazing feeling. That opening ceremony where we had a young Jewish man tennis player from Mongolia, from India, from Cuba. It was absolutely amazing.
Great. Okay, good to meet you. He's Jeff Cohn. He is the team manager for Team USA. Let's go take a look at the game. Well, it was a well-fought match, and in the end, the U.S. defeats Australia. Reporting from Jerusalem at the 19th Maccabiah Games, I'm Brad Pomerance.
When we come back, we reveal a match made in Maccabiah heaven. And we don't mean a soccer match. Stay close. Welcome back. Little did two Australian soccer players realize when they came to the 17th Maccabiah Games in 2005, they were about to meet their mates. Well, they did. We present returning Maccabians, Mr. and Mrs. Beck and Adam Joseph.
The story of Adam and Beck Joseph goes beyond a match made in Maccabiah heaven. It is also a story that can boast the presence of 4 generations, all at these 19th Maccabiah Games. So tell me the truth, when you came to the Maccabiah Games, are you thinking, I'm going to look for a wife?
No, I didn't. I actually had a partner at the time, so I definitely wasn't looking for a wife at the time. The focus is purely football. Okay,
so your first game was in 1997 and you were a junior?
Yeah, I was 16 years old, so 1997 Maccabiah was my first games.
And then you decided to skip a year, a Maccabiah, and then you came back in 2005. What made you decide to come back in 2005 even though you decided to sit one out?
I was playing for a Jewish team at the time in Sydney, Australia, and we had a good bunch of boys and a good coach, so I decided to come back and give it another bash.
And how was your love life?
I met my now wife, Rebecca, in the last week of the games up in Haifa, so I was very lucky.
So how did that come about? You're here for the Maccabiah Games, you're excited to compete for your country, it's a world event. How did you, were you thinking, she must have struck your eye? Tell me the story, I want to hear it. Get close, I want to hear the story, just me and you.
So yeah, the focus was football. Obviously, we got knocked out of the games in 2005 against Mexico, and all I remember was sitting in a nightclub up in Haifa and met a blonde girl, which is rare. It's not many blonde Jewish women, and she just caught my eye. She had blonde hair and blue eyes and played football, so I knew straight away that she was the perfect match.
What was your opening line to her?
Would you like a drink? It's so long ago.
That works, okay. And what did she say?
She said, sure, and we kind of just hit it off straight away. We became best friends straight away, and we had lunch the next day together and hung out pretty much every day.
Good, and does she live near you in Australia?
She does. She lived about 20 kilometres away from me, so it's quite close.
All right, so what happened in 2009? You both came back.
Yeah, we were going out at the time, obviously, and we both came back to the games, both playing Opens football. And yeah, I proposed to Rebecca on Tel Aviv Beach.
Was she surprised, or did she feel it coming on?
No, I attempted to propose to her twice, those games.
Attempted? What happened?
I was just way too drunk at the time.
Don't tell her that, okay?
No, the first time I tried to propose was at the Australian pool party, and yeah, it just didn't happen. I was too nervous, and then I tried again up in Haifa, and I was too nervous, and third time lucky, I got the nerves to bend down on one knee down at Tel Aviv Beach and pop the question.
I saw your photos. Very, very, very sweet when you popped the question.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you get married in Australia, and you guys are now here as a married couple, and you have a son.
Yeah, that's right. We waited a year till we got married, so Bex will be happy. But we got that I'm able to remember this. But we got married on the 24th of October 2010. We had our little one 18 months ago, so obviously we're both here playing football again with our little son.
And I heard that he can kick a ball already. Can he do that?
Yeah, he's a little genius. So he's good at sports, and he's academically already a genius.
So maybe when he gets a little bit older, do you think he might be interested in competing for juniors in the Maccabiah Games?
I hope so. I hope so. Hopefully he'll play football, so we'll wait and see.
And so far today, you have how many generations who came to support you both?
We got 4 generations at the games at the moment. We've got Bex's grandma, who's 94, her mother, obviously Bex and myself, and we've got our little son, Jerry, who's 18 months old.
I'm really impressed. I don't know that many Maccabiah athletes who can say they have 4 generations all present at these 19th Maccabiah Games. Well, Adam, thank you so much. I want to meet your lovely, so we're going to go talk to her for a bit.
Okay, thank you very much.
First of all, congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
So the story is you met in 2005.
That's right. Yep, Adam and I met at Maccabiah. We're both playing football.
And so I heard his story, how he met you. I want to hear yours.
Oh no, it's going to be a bit different, isn't it?
That's the point. I want to hear your version.
I think it was the second week in. We were both staying at the hotel, obviously, both being Aussies. I think my team's calling me. And yeah, we just met in the hotel lobby, and we instantly became best friends, and then spent the rest of the week hitting it off.
Well, that's lovely.
Each other's games.
That's lovely. He mentioned that in Australia you only lived 20 minutes apart, so that you were actually able to, you know, develop a friendship and relationship. And then what happened in 2009 when you came back to the Maccabiah Games?
We both came back for football. We went for dinner one night, and then walking back on Tel Aviv Beach, it was during the games, and Adam asked me to marry him, and I was very happy to say yes. And then we came back to the hotel, and we got to have some celebrations with our teams.
I heard that Adam tried to pop the question a number of times and was a little bit nervous. Did you hear that story?
Yes, I remember that pretty clearly. Yep.
So I have to say, you're one of the very few that can claim that you're 4 generations present, supporting or playing at this current Maccabiah team. How does that make you feel?
I think it's an amazing feat. I think it's fantastic to have an 18-month-old and a 94-year-old here to support us.
Well, I think that a lot of people have been doing some shidduchs here or matchmaking here. So if this is an example, we hope many more athletes come together at the Maccabiah Games. And of course, families come together to support. We wish you continued success, both as football players, or in America we call it soccer. And keep us posted on how you do in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
So I've got Ruby here, which is Beck's grandmother. She's so excited I could barely steal her away for an interview. So tell me, you excited to see your granddaughter?
Oh, I came here because of my granddaughter and grandson playing soccer.
Where did you come from?
And I love Israel. That's the reason.
How many times have you been to Israel?
Twice
So you came specifically for the Maccabiah Games?
before, long time ago. Yeah.
And is this your first time in Israel?
It's my third Maccabiah.
Yeah, me too.
And you're here just to support your daughter and obviously your son-in-law?
We never miss a match.
What a great story. A love for the sport that leads to a love for each other with the loving support of family for generations here at the 19th Maccabiah Games. I'm Shay Yuval reporting from Jerusalem for JLTV.
On the other side, we are keeping it all in the family with some of the youngest Maccabians stateside this time. It's the 19th Maccabiah Games. I'm Mitch Gaylord. American fencers Jen and Charlie Horowitz are ready to parry against any lunge. Don't know what that means? You will.
This is Steve Grad in Jerusalem at the 19th Maccabiah fencing competition. A teenager from the United States is already in the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, and her name is Jennifer Horowitz. How is it competing for you in Israel at the Maccabiah Games?
It's such an honor to be here. It's a really high level of competition, especially in my event. We got a lot of people I fence at World Cups all the time, but it's such an honor to be here. It's such an exciting experience.
Is this your first time in Israel?
Yeah, it is. We got to tour the country a week ago, and it was so great. We got to go to the Dead Sea. We got to travel with all the athletes. It's incredible.
How did you get into fencing?
I think when I was little, my little brother liked to hit things, and we thought we'd put it to good use. And then I started picked it up, and I wasn't good at soccer or basketball, but I was good at fencing and I was good at hitting things, so I picked it up.
How are you able to fence around the world and keep up with your schoolwork?
It's a struggle. It's not something that's very easy for me, but after a while you end up getting used to it. You do homework on the planes, or trains or buses, or however you're getting to your next tournament. You work with your schedule.
You've won the first ever Margaret Lambert Award for a top Jewish athlete who's not only outstanding in sports, but at school and in doing charitable work. Tell me your thoughts on winning that honor for you.
She's such an inspiration, and she's such an incredible woman. And especially after we visited Yad Vashem, it was such an honor. I'm so grateful.
Tell me about your charitable work, and I know you do the Museum of Tolerance.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
It's right near the fencing club, actually. So it was just something I was interested in, and it's this incredible place where they have such incredible programs, and I thought I'd work there and come right from the fencing club studio to the Museum of Tolerance.
Your parents are so involved with City of Hope. Your grandfather built it up to what it was. You have a connection to City of Hope also.
Yeah, it's something that my dad's very passionate about, and it's a great cause, and it's something that it's great to be involved in, especially as my family has been involved for so many years.
How was it making that speech or reading the pledge the other day at the fundraiser?
It was great. It was a great experience.
Now, when you're fencing, what is the most important thing you're thinking about, your strategy, to be successful?
I think it's clearing your head and just being ready to fence and not care about what your opponent has done in their past or who they are. It's just about taking it one bout at a time, one touch at a time, and
people don't realize the endurance it needs to take to hold up the épée and stand in there.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's you know, it's an endurance sport. You have to keep you know, fighting for a long time and keep working.
What do you do to get the endurance when you're to be able to fence? What kind of workout do you do?
Well, you know, fencing works one side of your body, so I swim so that I get both sides of my body working out, and I run so that you get that endurance piece.
What do you think about when you see Charlie? What do you feel when you see him work?
It depends. I mean, if it's at the club, it's usually a more competitive look at his fencing. But when we're here, we just support each other and try to be there for one another. And yeah, I think it's great that I have someone who is so close to me, who, you know, does the same sport as me.
You're proud of him?
Yeah, definitely. Of course I'm proud of him. Yeah.
Well, you know, your family and the people who follow the sport and the Jewish people are proud of you. Look, you're in the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. What does that feel like at 17 years old?
You know, it's great. It's an incredible program, an incredible organization, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
Charlie Horowitz was a fencer before his sister. How did you get into it?
I think I really enjoyed playing with swords, and we were at a birthday party, and across the street was a club, so yeah.
How did you get so proficient?
I have a great coach, and I loved it, so we just kept playing, kept training.
Are you proud of your sister?
I'm very proud of my sister. I'm very, very proud of my sister.
What's it like watching her?
It's a little bit aggravating, because I can see her fence, and I know what I would want to do, and it's not right or wrong, but it's like, I want to fence like through her. I want to fence through her, so it's different.
Did you ever fence each other?
Yeah.
What's that like?
We don't usually finish. Someone quits early. It's too emotional, I think. So.
You did a speech at City of Hope, you, your sister, and your cousin. What was that like for you?
That, you know, I think it was just an honor to be up there with, you know, like, you know, my dad, and, you know, it was really cool.
Knowing what your grandfather did.
Exactly.
We'll return to Jerusalem for the fencing competition and meet the parents of Jen and Charlie Horowitz. Stay with us on JLTV. The parents of these talented fencers are Barbara and Zach Horowitz. Now, how did they get into this sport, which is not the most common of sports?
Well, Charlie was about 6 years old and wanted to be a pirate. We used to go to a tiny toy store on Westwood Boulevard in Los Angeles called Toyorama, and we'd buy these sponge swords, and we'd spend hours fencing with these sponge swords because that's all he wanted to do. One day we went to a birthday party at a gymnastics club, and in the back was this old Jewish man who was a fencer. And at the end of the gymnastics party, Charlie said to me, "Can I go and take a lesson?" And that's how it started.
Wow, but Jen didn't start right away.
No, so Charlie started taking lessons at this Los Angeles International Fencing Club. And she would come along, and, you know, she's the big sister, and she was sitting there doing, just probably reading a book or doing something. And one day, Charlie's coach's sister, who was a very accomplished fencer from Armenia, came over to Jenny and literally grabbed her arm and said, "You will fence," and literally pulled her off the chair, and that's how it started.
And she took right to it.
Yeah, she really liked it from the beginning. It, for whatever reason, it clicked.
You know, having two children in the same sport, growing up all the way to now, that had to be helpful.
Thank God. Can you imagine if one of our kids was in soccer and in a different city at the same time? Would have been terrible.
And they've been to a lot of major tournaments around the world. You've been with them in every one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you get to a certain level, like in many sports, but in fencing, you become part of this World Cup circuit. And most of the tournaments are in Europe, in France, in Germany, in Austria, in Italy, all over the world. So we go with them, and it's a lot of fun.
How do they keep up with their schoolwork?
it's a balancing act. They bring their work, they study on the plane, they study in between fencing. It's hard.
They get along well. I could see that here.
Yeah,
At least today.
At
They
least
do get along. They get along very well.
Yeah.
Now, the family is very involved in the charities and all of the city, and especially City of Hope, where your father Ben put it on the map, really. Tell us about the connection to City of Hope.
My father ran City of Hope for 35 years. He actually met my mother, Beverly, who was running the St. Louis office of City of Hope. And Barbara's parents, coincidentally, both worked at the City of Hope, Joe and Idell Matterson.
Is that how you met each other?
No, we met, even though we grew up probably about a mile and a half from each other, we met each other many years later on a blind date.
Well, it produced two brilliant children. Truly, I mean, they keep up with their work and the awards, but the kids are also involved in charity, especially City of Hope also.
Yes. Well, kids, actually, there was the 100th year anniversary of City of Hope, and both of the kids, and actually our niece, Zoe, went up in front of all the delegates from all over the country and read the Torchbearers Creed, which had been written by my father.
Atoms for Life has been a City of Hope theme for many years, and it symbolizes our conviction that the wealth and talents of man should be directed to the advancement of the sum total of human welfare.
We bear witness that spiritual values and humanitarian impulses must guide our everyday lives.
Today, people have lost their moorings and drift aimlessly, living empty lives. City of Hope offers a creed that gives each life a purpose and each day a meaning.
What did you feel like when that was going on?
It was very moving, it was very beautiful. And yeah, the whole experience of this has been very touching, all of it, happening within a few months of each other.
Jenny won the Lambert Award, and Margaret Lambert, 99 years old, a world champion athlete, track and field, a Jewish athlete, and your daughter is the recipient of the first award named in her honor. What does that mean to you?
Yes, well, I actually was unaware that there is a National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, but there is, it's in New York, and every year they give out an award to the Jewish Scholar Athlete of the Year. And this year it's named for Margaret Lambert, who, as you said, was a brilliant German-Jewish athlete who was ultimately kicked off of the team in '36.
The Olympic team.
The German Olympic team. And I mean, actually...
Because she was Jewish.
Yeah.
No other reason.
Yeah.
Right.
And her story has now been told. I think HBO did a documentary about it, but she's still alive. She lives in the U.S., and they decided to name the Female Jewish Scholar Athlete of the Year award after her. So Jen was the recipient of that award this year.
Were you proud?
We were very proud, and there's also an interesting little anecdote surrounding this. When Jennifer first started fencing internationally, she was not having good results, and she was beginning to question whether or not she would be able to handle it. And she had her first success ever at this small German town named Laupang. And years later, we found out that Mrs. Lambert came from Laupang.
There's a connection already. Where do you think that their fencing will take them in the future?
Hopefully to a good college.
Do they have scholarships in fencing?
They have scholarships, but mostly it's a question of being on the right team and having the right fit. But we're looking forward to that next step.
And scholastically, they're doing their job.
Yeah, they're both very good students.
Do they compete against one another at all as far as who's done, I don't mean fence against each other necessarily, but who's doing better at the time?
Not so much. You don't want to see them fencing each other. That we don't want to see, but they actually love each other a lot.
People also don't realize the endurance you need to fence and to hold up the épée.
You're talking about for the parent?
Yes, it's got to be every time they're touched.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to feel it.
Right.
Do you feel it?
We feel it.
Yeah.
We feel it.
But it is, there are a lot of a lot of things develop when you learn fencing. I mean, neither Zach nor I knew anything about fencing, I mean, at all, before we became parents of fencers. But in addition to the physical strength, there's a lot of mental toughness. It hurts. They come home sometimes with bruises, so there's a lot of sort of resilience and tenacity. And in fencing, even when you win, you tend to lose more than you win. It's an interesting sport. You count up points to advance, so it builds character.
And it also teaches you how to lose just as well as teaches you how to win, which is an important life lesson.
Do they ever get hurt?
Thank God, neither one of them has ever. I mean, I don't even want to say it, but we've had good luck so far. They've been healthy.
Have you been scared watching them the first few times when they compete?
Not so much about them getting hurt. They work so hard, it's important for them to do well. So as a parent, you just want them to do as well as they possibly can.
One last thing. When they were little ones at the fencing school, I mean little ones, what were they, 9 and 7 or 9 and 6?
Yeah.
Did you ever think it would come to this?
No. I had no idea. I really had no idea personally how ultimately well they would do, and to be here at the Maccabiah Games in Jerusalem, it's a dream come true.
Outstanding sports achievement, outstanding scholastic achievement, and tzedakah, charity, combined in a unique athlete in Jen Horowitz and her brother Charlie, her parents Barbara and Zach. Reporting from the fencing competition at the 19th Maccabiah Games, I'm Steve Grad in Jerusalem for JLTV.
Okay, it's time for the Maccabiah Minute, presented by the Jewish Agency for Israel.
So my name is Ido Eisenstadt. I'm 29 years old. I was born here in Israel, but moved when I was a young year old to Canada, where I was raised until the age of 8 in Vancouver. Then moved back to Israel, here to Jerusalem, until 2 years ago when I moved to Ireland and started working for Google. It's so cold in Ireland. So that makes it one thing. Coming here, you can go dress in short clothes, go to the beach. You can't do that in Ireland. And second of all, the family. That's even though with Google and with all the technology, we have Skype and Google Talk, and you can text whenever. Still, with being on Friday night, eating with your family, nothing replaces that. So I actually started fencing quite by accident. I was doing many sports, swimming, judo, horse riding. And then one day, the club in Jerusalem came to my school, and they asked who wants to join. So I said, okay, I'll go for a taster, and I never quit since. I don't know, something about the competitiveness, the fact that I could use my height and my strength as an advantage compared to other sports. So that stuff really gave me forward, got me winning, and I enjoyed it because of winning. This is like second to the Olympics. Like we have 9,000 Jews coming from all over the world, competing the best of the Jews. So it makes it really, really special. It's my third Maccabiah, and second time winning it. So something makes it my competition. Oh, it's so great because we go all around the world competing. We don't feel connected to any place. And suddenly we get lots of people here from all over the world. You start getting connected, not through the sport only, but through the religion also.
You are watching the 19th Maccabiah Games exclusively on JLTV. You know, for millions of people around the globe, battling mental illness can seem like an impossible proposition, but not for Nancy Alterman Harris. This American tennis player is fighting back against her disease and winning. Watch her inspiring story.
This is Steve Grad at Kfar Maccabiah in Ramat Gan, Israel. We have one of the most interesting competitors at the Maccabiah Games, the 19th Maccabiah Games. That would be Nancy Alterman, a Masters tennis player. First of all, what got you into tennis and playing Masters tennis?
My parents got me into tennis when I was about 7 or 8 years old. So through the years, I've played on and off. Never real competitively. I didn't play college tennis, but I played some junior tournaments and just always seemed to play back and forth. Never at a real high competitive level, but just love it. And I got into the Masters because I've gotten older. So now I'm in the Masters.
And this is your first Maccabiah Games in Israel, but you've taken part in the Maccabiah Games before.
Yeah, a year and a half ago I did my first Maccabiah in Brazil, the Pan Am Games. Unbelievable experience, just beyond fun and wonderful.
How did you do?
I actually did pretty well. I came home with 3 medals. I got the bronze in doubles, I got the silver in singles, and I actually got the gold medal in kibitzing and Miss Congeniality, I think. I probably met more people than anybody there.
I love it. What makes you unique is you've overcome something that most people haven't the faintest idea what it's like to have, and that's bipolar disorder. Tell us about the background on that.
I'll probably get emotional on this.
Okay.
The illness runs in my family very strongly. Lost my sister when she was 27 and I was 23 to her illness. So it was very much in our family, and I started feeling at the age of 13 that something was different. Up until then, everything was great. I was very happy, very athletic, did really well in school. And when I was 13, just something was odd, and I didn't really go to my parents because they were dealing with my older sister so much, and I didn't want to bother them that something was wrong with me as well, so I faked it.
How did you get diagnosed, and then how did you take steps to control it?
Well, throughout the years, I have been hospitalized 4 times for depression, never for mania. And I would take my medication, I wouldn't take my medication. Even when I was taking the medication, I wasn't quite right, but it did keep me from the extreme lows and the extreme highs.
So, that wasn't really working, and you discovered another path to get the situation under control. Tell us about that, please.
I did. People say it's a controversial treatment. About 4 years ago, after being on an extreme high, since I stopped taking my medication, I dropped down to an extreme low for about 1.5 years. Sports being my life and working out being my life, for a whole 1.5 years, I didn't play tennis, I didn't go skiing, I didn't ride my bike, didn't work out. I just didn't want to do anything. I stopped calling my friends. I just was basically in my house, nothing. After 8 months seeing one doctor, giving me medication after medication, he recommended ECT, which is electric shock therapy.
Electric shock therapy of the 50s and 60s had horrific, monstrous, insane asylum movie type connotations. That certainly has not been the case in your situation.
Yeah, no, it's very far from what you would see in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's what the perception many people still have. But in actuality, there's probably more than 100,000 treatments given in the United States per year.
How many treatments would one need to really get this control?
For me, it was 6 weeks of probably about 15, 17 treatments. And one day I literally woke up and it was like click, the light went on. And I looked around, I was like, what? I mean, this is how I'm supposed to feel? And it was that dramatic. And it was like since I was 13 that I never felt that good. And it was like, whoa.
The stigma was partially taken off when a very famous person in the United States had this situation.
Oh, yes, Kitty Dukakis. Yes, she had, and I believe she was my same doctor, or definitely consulted with him, Kitty Dukakis, and she's had videos and books. Her book is called Shock.
Now you've had this, and you're a big backer of letting people know about this, and another famous person is involved, a movie and television star in Glenn Close. Tell us about your relationship with her and what she's doing.
Okay, well, for the past 2 years, I've been a team captain since I'm very, very involved in mental health now, giving back as much as I can to help others. So I've been a team captain. I'm the official team captain for Bring Change to Mind for the NAMI Walk, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Glenn started it in 2009 to take away the stigma of mental illness because her sister has bipolar illness and her nephew has schizophrenia. And finally the family rallied behind, and with her voice and her name and her recognition, many changes are starting to be made and hopefully will be made. You know, it helps when somebody steps forward who has a big name.
Are there any other things that are helpful that you have to do in order to keep control of the situation?
Yeah, well, what I focus on, I'm very careful. I do take my medication, low dose, every day. I do not miss my medication. Sleep is very important, and exercise is key. So I really try to keep up on my fitness and exercise. And just, you know, I have an incredible support system, and they kind of watch out for me, and so I'm really blessed that way. But what's amazing with my journey is prior to my treatments, I had no clue, honestly, no clue that I had so much ability to make a difference, to create, you know, such positive feelings for myself and make a difference in this world. I was in such a shell, I was in such a fog, and now it's like, wow.
Okay. Now that you've had it, how does it affect your tennis play?
I am better now. You know, actually back when I was young, I did play tournaments, and I recognize it now as having my illness, I would get so angry, like beyond normal angry, and just be a brat and not try if I got down a little bit. Now, it's so much fun. If I get down, it's like, who cares? I'm alive, I'm healthy. Being here in Israel, I'm in Israel, oh my God. So, and now I'm hooked on the Maccabees, on the Maccabiah Games. I've met people from all over the world now, and I hope to meet up with everyone in Chile for the Pan Am Games. And life couldn't be better now. I'm serious, it could not be better. So, yeah, life is good. Life is better than good. Life is great.
The people who come in contact with you certainly get a benefit from you. Nancy Alterman, a real success story here at the Maccabiah Games. I'm Steve Grad at Ramat Gan, Israel for JLTV.
Well, that does it from Day 6 of JLTV's exclusive coverage of the 19th Maccabiah Games from the State of Israel. I'm Mitch Gaylord. I'm Mitch Gaylord coming to you from the JLTV Maccabiah headquarters. The 19th Maccabiah Games on JLTV is brought to you in part by the Jewish Life Foundation. The Jewish Life Foundation uses the power of the media to educate, inform, and celebrate Jewish history, values, and traditions. If you would like to support the efforts of JLF, you can sign on to www.jewishlifefoundation.org, where you can make a tax-free charitable contribution. On behalf of the Jewish Life Foundation, we sincerely thank you for your support.